for me, I never had a doubt that it wouldn't work. It's always, take a couple steps, learn from it, and then you take a step back, and then you learn from that, and then forward and backwards and forward and backwards, and all of a sudden you look up and you're on top of the mountain. I mean, it's a 20-something year overnight success.
Welcome to the Matthews Mentality Podcast. Today, we're joined by a powerhouse entrepreneur and visionary leader in the world of fitness, Will Bartholomew. Will is the founder and CEO of D1 Training, one of the fastest growing fitness franchises in the country, with more than 152 facilities open, another 250 in development. It's 250?
Yep.
That's a big number.
Yeah, we got a lot coming.
And a footprint in nearly every major U.S. market. D1 is redefining how America trains, making Division I level performance accessible to all ages and fitness levels. Born and raised in Nashville, Will's passion for performance began early. A three-sport all-state athlete in high school, he went on to play fullback at the University of Tennessee, go Vols, lining up alongside Peyton Manning, I think I've heard of that guy, and helping lead the Vols to the national championship in 1998. His years as a team captain and champion shaped a mindset built on discipline, grit, and excellence, values that would later become the foundation of D1. After five knee injuries, ended his brief NFL career in the elevator up. We were talking about football and injuries, and he said, other than the 5 knee injuries, I was like, well, that will do it to you. Ended his brief NFL career with the Denver Broncos. Will channeled his drive into building something extraordinary. He opened the first D1 training facility in 2003 with a clear mission: deliver authentic team-based training at the highest level. Fast forward to today, and D1 has earned national acclaim from Entrepreneur Magazine's Franchise 500 to Inc. 5000's fastest growing companies and Men's Health top 30 gyms in America. Before we dive in, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the Matthews Mentality Podcast. Will, welcome to the show.
Man, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
I've been saying this to the team here, and they could repeat. I said, because I have 4 kids, my oldest is 14, so starting to get into like, they've been doing sports, but starting to where it really started with some of their friends, like the specialization, but the training and I started to see the amount of effort, energy that parents would put into putting their kids in a position to be successful on the field, but the capital, the amount of money parents are spending to like help train and specialize, the pitching coaches, the shooting coaches. And I said, I've seen parents like they'll lose their home to the bank before they stop paying for that kid's sports development. I said, this is the best industry ever. And then we had a connection through another Will, right?
Yeah.
And so I was excited to get you on. But how did you, and again, sometimes it better be lucky than good. How did you identify what I would say in 2003 was very much a new industry? It wasn't what it is today, because when you and I are growing up, there was nothing like this.
There's nothing like this.
How did you see this opportunity?
It's funny how your parents shape you, and then, your upbringing and that type of thing. And we were talking about my high school experience earlier. And one of the things I loved about the University of Tennessee is I loved the weight room. I love wearing gym shorts in there. I love the rap music. We're just walking through your sales office.
We never get to pick the music.
We never got. And I just love that environment. And my dad ran a large law firm here in Nashville. And I was like, I do not want to be a lawyer. I do not want to put on a suit and tie and read documents all day long. I was like, you know what I want to do? I want to lift weights, listen to rap music, and
meathead.
Yeah, just complete meathead.
Yeah.
I mean, and so we talked a little bit about this, but like I wanted to build a lifestyle company. Mm-hmm. To me, money, it wasn't about money, and it was about creating an environment that I wanted to go to and work every day. And so that's what I did.
Like where you don't hate what you do.
Yeah. And I think, look, when I first started, you got to remember 2003, being an entrepreneur was not cool.
No.
like
it wasn't what it is today.
That wasn't what people went to school for. But I had a couple influences in my life. One, I read a book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And I will tell you, I grew up with a rich dad. He was not just wealthy man, but he was very smart. business savvy, so much that he bought the D1 IP rights when I said, hey, I want to call it D1 back in 0102. He bought it and everything. Believe it or not, nobody owned it. And so, man, when I read that book and I grew up the way I did, I go, man, there is more to life than just being a slave to the dollar and trying to make ends meet. I was like, I want to create an environment that I want to go to every day, no matter what day it is, and I want to do it for the rest of my life. And I had found that when I was in college. I had found that earlier in high school, but I really found it in college. I go, man, this is what I want to do. And so that's why I call it D1, because it replicates a D1 environment.
Your dad bought the rights and then you had to buy it off him.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, my dad was a good businessman.
Yeah, I'm just messing.
No, he did.
Oh, for real?
Oh, yeah, I had a legal bill. He kept track on my legal bills, and
man.
once I started making money, he sent me that legal bill, and we had to negotiate.
Good man.
Yeah.
So okay. So the answer to the question is really you just love the environment, and when you kind of. Yeah, and you're right, 2003, to be an entrepreneur, like you just didn't hear people going around like, what do you do? Like, well, I'm an entrepreneur the way you do now, right? But you just said, I love this environment. I want to be in a business in a sense that is this environment. How did your love for the gym and being a meathead and the rap music and all that, what was the moment or what was the catalyst to make it kind of a performance center, so to speak?
Yeah, I think.
Why didn't you just open up gyms?
Yeah, I mean, look, I've always, one of the things that has served me really well my whole life is to lead with my passion. So if I'm passionate about something, I become super intentional about it. And sometimes passion is irrational to other people. Like other people look at it and go, why wouldn't you just open a normal gym? But my passion was, I really wanted, I had this kind of unique mixture. I came from a private high school here in Nashville where I think at the time I was the first D1 athlete, full ride kid in like 12 years that had come out. Yeah, NBA. And now they produce so many big time D1 athletes. But back then it was like, okay, I had kind of a secret, people looked at me and go, man, does he have a secret? How do he get there? Right. And so people would ask me like, hey, how do I get my kid to do what you did? How would I get my, and I was like, man, I would love that aspect of pouring back into youth athletes. And then another part of it was, my mom was an ordained minister growing up. So I grew up in the church. I served in FCA in college, and I really wanted to be around an environment where I could really preach. And I'm gonna use the word preach, but it's really like coach. Yeah. I thought the best coaches were the ones who would bring those characteristics out that the church sometimes brings out. But like to me, when I would get it on the football field, it was like impact you so much more.
The best coaches are the ones who believe in the word, the word of what they're speaking and saying.
And so here's an environment where I can really pour my faith into people. Also pour my heart and passion, give this knowledge out, plus have a lot of fun doing it.
Yeah.
I mean, this is what it is. I mean, my dad told me I was crazy. He looked at me, he's like, son, dude, like you need to go. He wanted me to go into college coaching. He's like, you should go, if you want to coach, go be a college coach. That's where the money's at. And I was like, Dad, I just really have a passion for this. This is what I want to do. I don't care if I make, $40,000 the rest of my life. This is what I want to do. And I think when you have that mentality, I think a lot of people go into starting a business and they look and go, man, I want to make the money. Mine was just the complete opposite. I said, man, I just want to have a great life. I want to, man, serve people well. And if I do that, the money will come. I didn't realize the money would come later, but I mean, it took years, but like, that was what it was all about. And I had no idea what I was doing when I started, though.
It's kind of like that saying, what is it? Like, find something you love to do and you'll never work a day in your life.
That's right.
And it's right and it's not. It's not like you got to work really hard, like by definition of work, like put a lot of hours in. But you're just not miserable. Like you come home and you're just, man, I'm so tired. It was such a long day. But it's not, you don't have like disgust of like, oh, I hate this. No, it's a tiring day, but you because you have this enthusiasm.
Yeah. Look, we were talking about it just a minute ago. when you surround yourself with people that are growing, and you surround yourself with people that want to get better, and then all of a sudden you're in that environment, like it spurs you on. You get excited, and then you want to show up. And I really think that's what the catalyst was for me to grow the business. When I first started, the intent was just to have one location, right? It wasn't like, hey, I'm gonna, scale this thing to 150 locations
let me ask you,
and do all that. There's nothing to do with that.
Wait, all right. So 2002, 2003, you kind of had this vision for this thing. Again, not a gym. It has a gym. Like, there's got to be, whoever's listening, there's going to be one close to you. Go check it out. Like, certainly there's a big gym component, but then there's a field. There's a million things going on in it. It's pretty cool. Walk me through, like, was it an aha moment where you're sitting on the couch, all of a sudden this vision, how did it, and then I want to hear the story of how did it go from an idea to your first location? What happened?
Yeah. Which, I think most people out there, as you're listening to this, that's like the first step, is taking action. I've always been a man of action. I'm a fullback, man. Like, don't give me a lot of instructions. Just tell me who to hit, right? And I don't go sideways. I go forward.
Downhill.
For me, I went and trained for the NFL Combine with a guy named Kurt Hester, legendary strength coach in the industry. He's at Houston right now. And when I trained with Kurt, we trained at a private gym. And I love the environment. And I actually had this kind of idea of, hey, I want to create something like this. So much so, we sat down in an IHOP and kind of like scratched this thing out on a napkin. And I was like, hey, how would you do it? Would this work in Nashville type thing? And Kurt was a lot about training high school athletes and college players going into the pros. My heart was like the middle school kid. I was like, I think there's a need in that middle school area where like kids need to learn the proper weightlifting technique. They can learn speed, and it's just going to advance them even quicker. And I did want to train high school athletes and the older athletes, but that was really where my heart was. And so I had this kind of youth pastor / strength coach in me. Mm-hmm. And so when I was sitting around, I went back after signing with the Broncos, and I was sitting back in my college place with my college roommate, who became my business partner at the time, and we're watching And1 Mix Tour. Remember that? Yeah. Remember the And1 Mix Tour on MTV? Remember White Chocolate? He was the dude who was like
Jason Williams.
Yeah, I think I don't know if it was like the street ball Jason Williams.
Oh, I got you.
And anyway, we're watching that, and I was like, I want it to be cool. I want where all the kids want to watch it like this. I want it to be like And1. And he looked at me and he's like, what? He's like, what about D1? And I looked at him, I was like, that's a terrible name. I never called Jim that. And I was like, it's stuck. It's stuck. And so we called him after and said, hey, D1, let's do it.
Is it white? Yeah. So White Chocolate was Jason Williams.
But they called him White Chocolate. There it is.
And1
Mix Tour. There it is.
With like how long the shorts were back then.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah, everybody wore the long shorts. I don't know how they dribbled in between the legs. But yeah, so we sat around and said, hey, I want to create this gym where we train athletes just like I did at University of Tennessee, have great coaching, motivating environment. And that became kind of the launching plan for this gym. Now, I go to the camp. I go to the Broncos camp. Mm-hmm. I'm getting ready to make the team. Coach Shanahan pulls me in and says, hey, you're making the team. I'm running down on kickoff on air, and I cut and my knee tore. So I fall down. I've already had a couple knee surgeries. Now this is now the third. And I'm laying there and I get carted off. You go through all the motions, mm-hmm. the roller coaster of, losing everything you've worked for. And when I was back home, I wrote the business plan for D1. Mm-hmm. So I had kind of the ideas kind of sketched out and the thoughts, but then I actually like put pen to paper, built a pro forma, did all of those things. And I went to my dad and said, hey, what do you think? And he told me I was crazy. And from there, I was like, well, if I'm going to be crazy, let's be crazy enough to make it work. And mm-hmm. so I actually found a place to sign a lease and open my first location that April.
Where was this?
Out in Cool Springs.
Out in
So
Cool
near the
Springs.
headquarters right now. Yeah, near the headquarters where it is now. And so opened my first location, and it was I had no business ideas,
No.
right? Like
So how old
no
are you?
business
How old are you?
practices.
20?
I'm like 23 at the
Oh
time,
my, I was
24.
gonna say
Yeah, I mean,
25.
no business practices. Like I had no pre-sales. I didn't even know what I was charging people. My ledger of customers was like, pen and paper wrote down. I only took cash.
How did, like, as a real estate guy, I'm like, wait, well, how much space did you take?
So I took 2,600 square feet. I subleased it
I was gonna say, yeah, because
I had no credit.
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
As a real estate guy, I'm like, how did you get him to lease the space to
Yeah,
you?
so it was a businessman here in town.
That was back in the stated income days.
Yeah.
I make $1 million.
And, I had a great guy who believed in me. He had some extra square feet. And I was like, hey, I'd love to lease this and put a gym in here. And I scrapped it together, man. $30,000 I started that thing with.
Dude.
And that was the money I had made from the Broncos signing bonus.
Wow.
And put everything in it. And
what was the first 12 months like? We don't have to spend too much time.
Yeah, I mean, the long and short of it was because we open early and we close late. It was 5 a.m. getting there and closing the door at 9 p.m. at night, taking breaks during the lunch.
You were on site during?
Yeah, on site every day, signing people up. I was trying to hustle sales, figure it all out. I screwed the racks together. I unclogged the toilet when the crapper was full, and I did it all. And now I don't want to say it was all me. I had great
Sure.
people that came in. I couldn't pay people, so I had interns and I all those types of things. And man, we just scrapped it together that year. And that year you started seeing like, okay, this could be something. People were coming in, people were wanting to sign up, be a part of it. But, I didn't realize how important like really good business practices were for probably 5 years. And so for me, it was like, okay, this is working. I'm going to go do it again.
Mm-hmm.
And so 2 years into that, I opened a second and third location.
Ignorance is bliss.
Yeah. And you're just like, let's go.
Yeah.
And so many learning lessons, just failures, screw ups, all the things that we protect our franchisees from today.
Sure.
And but you also some great learnings. And so and some big wins. Some big wins.
What were share with the audience, maybe one or two of the big learnings of this first couple years, and then maybe after you get through that, just talk about a big win or two where you're like, I think this is going to work.
Yeah. Well, look, I mean, we learn the most from our adversity, from these mistakes we made. I trusted in this guy. I thought he was a great coach and big believer in him. And I was like, man, this is at another location and I wasn't there every day.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, man, the numbers aren't adding up. I get the numbers at the end of the month, and back then we're not having our KPIs where we're line of sight day of, now we have all these dashboards where we're able to see kind of things are off today. And I wouldn't know until it's 30 days late. And all of a sudden I got to make payroll, I got to make rent, I got to make utility bills, tax bills, all these other things. And I'm watching it and I'm like, man, things aren't adding up because the number of people are coming in the software versus what we're collecting. And so I went down there and I just sat. Didn't say anything, just sat for 2 days straight and watched what was happening. And he was taking cash on the side and wasn't sharing that at all. And man, that was a hard lesson because I really liked him, really liked the guy, and I believed in him and I trusted him, and had to let him go. So that
must have been tough.
It was tough, I think you're especially in your 20s, like having to fire people. Hiring people was so fun. Like people were excited, but then firing people or really coaching people on the business side was really hard. It was so easy for me to coach, an athlete on a 40-yard dash or a bench press or something else. But then for me to coach them in business, that was a learned skill. It was a learned skill that I had to learn throughout the years.
What was the moment where you and however many years and where you said, oh, wow, this might actually work?
Man, I have always had this belief that everything's going to work. And it's just a belief that I've had.
Irrational confidence.
My
Yeah.
mom ingrained it in me when I was a little kid. She just made me think that, think and believe, and I still believe it today, that, God has hands on me and that I can do whatever I want to do. And the only thing I can't do is quit. And as soon as you quit, then it's over.
You're a quitter.
Yeah. And so, for me, I never had a doubt that it wouldn't work. It's always, take a couple steps, learn from it, and then you take a step back, and then you learn from that, and then forward and backwards and forward and backwards, and all of a sudden you look up and you're on top of the mountain. And yeah, it is. I'm going to steal your words from downstairs. I mean, it's a 20-something year overnight success.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So people look at it now, they're like, man, it's so big and you're doing so many different things. I mean, we're training over 30,000 athletes right now.
Wow.
And so you think about all the athletes and the influence we're going to be able to impact on just athletics in general across the country. You're like, man, that was all because you just didn't quit. And I think that's what ultimately, I think that's what we're here to do, is we're here to coach people so that they don't quit and go a little bit further and a little bit further and a little bit further.
Yeah, quitting is one of the most tragic things, not just here in my industry, but just in general. Because like, there's I guess there's a meme, and we show it here from time to time, and you could Google it, and it's like this kind of cartoon character has a pick,
Yeah.
and he's like digging a tunnel, and it shows him like kind of giving up and walking away, and it's like there's like 1 inch between. One more inch of dirt or whatever between them and like the diamonds or the gold. Yep. And I just, from a visual, it always helps me whenever someone quits it. At least I always feel like they're so close,
and
there it is.
There it is.
See? And again, I can't speak for like the technology sector, SpaceX and flying rockets up and down, but like most of the businesses, even being an entrepreneur and founding a business, I really feel like, at least my experience has been, anybody can be successful. Obviously, it helps having some unique talents, but anyone can be successful. They just don't give up. And it might not happen on their timeline. Like, hey, 5 years in, I'm gonna be rich, But it's the quitting thing it's unfortunate. And I'll tell you, you talk about like changes in the culture. I feel like when we grew up, being called a quitter was like a really nasty word.
Yeah.
Like it was one of the words, like, dude, you're a quitter. No, I'm not. It's like, dude, you're a quitter. He's a quitter. And it's like, no, I'm not. Take it back, And now it's like, you could call some young person like, yeah, man, you're quitting. You're a quitter. And they're like, okay, cool. See you later.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think it's also when we're trying to teach these young athletes is that progress and growth happens over time. There's a really hard lesson that all of us have to learn, which is delayed gratification. Usually the longer you can delay your gratification, meaning like if you want to run that fast 40 or you want to be the star on the football team, you're going to have to work really a long time and wait your turn. Then all of a sudden you're going to have that chance to go. And I'm not saying you don't pivot. Quitting is you just abandon everything and you're done.
Mm-hmm.
That is what I define, not pivoting. Pivoting is actually being smart. How do we optimize? How do we get better? How do we make this 1% better? Because ultimately that's how you're going to get to where you want to go. And I think that's what strength and conditioning teaches you. It teaches you like, hey, if you just keep going, and then you're going to hit a plateau. Right? Your squat or your bench press, your power cleaner, you're going to hit a plateau no matter how strong you get. And then the way you get through those plateaus is typically you have to take a step back and work on your fundamentals, your mechanics, and then get 1% better. And then usually you break through.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing in business. What I've found is that like anytime I hit a roadblock, sometimes I am a meathead fullback. I'll just hit my head against the wall 100 times before I have to pivot. And then you pivot and you take one step back and then you'll help you grow it again. And so I've learned that throughout my years, my old age years now.
Let me ask you a business question. You started the company at some point you made the decision to franchise, but it wasn't for a minute, right?
Yeah.
Like why did you make that decision? Why would someone decide to franchise? Why wouldn't someone?
Yeah. So I opened my second, third location. And on my third location, you'll enjoy this on the real estate side. I had the opportunity to buy the building, and I was in my 20s. Peyton Manning was my business partner on that third location.
It's a good one.
Yeah, it's a
Well
good one.
capitalized.
Yeah, well capitalized.
But they
Man,
weren't making the quarterback money they are today back then.
but
I'm
you know,
sure-
when a
I'm sure
guy
he
like
did
that
okay,
believes
yeah.
in you, you're like, man, I gotta win. I gotta win.
And you guys
so,
played together at Tennessee. That's how
Tennessee, yeah.
you okay.
And so that location was doing well. I had the option to buy it, and because the business was cash flowing and the lease was a good lease, I was able to get 100% financing. And so I didn't really have a lot of money at the time. I had a good cash flowing business. And so I was able to buy the building, and all of a sudden on paper, I made a couple $100,000 just from a appraisal value to
Sure.
what the loan was.
Yeah.
And so I was able to take that and then go do a second, third, fourth, and I would just do the same thing. Just roll that equity, and just keep building new buildings. And so I built a construction company, real estate company along with that. And all of a sudden I had 32 of them. So I had 32 big box jumps, similar to what you've seen in Cool Springs. And I had also built in 2012 a physical therapy business. I had learned the PT business, and so I had built that. And in 2017, I had this aha moment. I had a great mentor of mine look at me, and he's like, "Hey, Will," he's looking at me, he's like, "Hey, you look stressed, man. What's going on?" I'm like, "Dude, I got these 3 businesses. I don't know which way to go. Like, I'm pulling, my hair out." I was telling you a minute ago, my daughter was a really good soccer player, and I'm preaching to these parents about like, hey, you want to be in your kids' lives, be there at their sports. My dad was at, all my games, and I couldn't be at her games.
Mm.
Now, I will say travel soccer is a little different because travel soccer, you're everywhere.
My wife my eyes were starting to close like 9:30, 9:45 last night. We were talking about fall break.
Yeah.
I was like, "Hey, what do you want to do for fall break?" He's like, "We can't go anywhere." Well, she's like,
travel soccer.
Kylie's got to be in Indianapolis. I said, "On fall break?" And she's like, "Yeah." I was like, "I don't know about this soccer."
Yeah. I mean, that was it. And so like, he's looking at me, and I was like, man, I don't know. I just feel like I feel like, almost like, man, I've almost bit off more than I can chew. I need to like reprioritize something. And he goes, well, imagine if you only had one business. You didn't have 3 real estate business, a therapy business, and a gym business. Imagine if you had one. Imagine how big you can make it and how deep you could go and special you can make it.
Yeah. Mile wide and an inch deep. Yeah.
And I woke up that next morning. I had this epiphany. I come to him and I go, hey, I want to be the gym guy. The gym guy because that's my roots. And he looked at me and he's like, well, you're not making that much money in that one. Yeah. And I was like, yeah, you got me. But no, that set me on the path of I sold my real estate. So I sold 27 of my 32 buildings. And I did sale leasebacks.
Mm-hmm.
And when I did that, I franchised the concept. So I actually formed the franchise, not thinking I was going to franchise it and start selling franchises, but I actually franchised the concept.
Those? At the time, you had 32 corporate owned, roughly.
Yeah, corporate owned.
Did you start selling the individual corporate ones too?
So of the 32, 27 of the buildings sold, and 23 of them turned in, they actually signed franchise agreements.
Because I was saying, is that part of you kind of, rebalancing your life?
That's right. Rebalancing my life. Yeah. And then I sold my therapy company.
Real quick, touch on that. What therapy?
So I had a physical therapy company called D1 Sports Medicine. So under the same brand, we had 58 clinics around the country. We sold it to a company called Exos out of Phoenix. Mm-hmm. Great business, loved the business, but that wasn't my passion. And so that was in 2017. So that was kind of the first moment where it's like, okay, I've had 2 exits. I have liquidity. I need to like rethink how I would do this. I've had all these learnings. And so it's like, now I'm pivoting to talk about that earlier. How am I going to do it smarter? I'm not just building a lifestyle brand anymore like I wanted to in my 20s. In my 30s, it was like, man, I just want to just go crush the world. Now in my 40s, it's like, man, I want to make an impact. I want to be smart. I want to be wise. I want to, like, all of these things start, like, our parents always told us, and then all of a sudden I'm here,
Sure.
and uh, so for a year we rebuilt the D1 model with basically 16 years of experience, and rebuilt it into, we looked at, what's our pricing lever? What's our scheduling lever? How much turf do we actually need? How many racks do we need to service our clients? How many members do we want? How much personal training do we want? What's our staffing ratio? All the different things that go into running a D1 franchise. And we packaged it. We created modules and what we call the playbook now, which is how to run one, and launched franchising. And we started selling franchises in 2018. And it was a whole new footprint, though. Now we went from big box locations to now we did 4,000 square foot locations, and made it, as simple as we could to run it. Now we keep refining it every year. Every year we're looking at it and going, hey, how do we make it simpler, better,
Sure.
more cost effective to open, make more money, all of those things. And so, so that was 2018 when we started franchise. So we've been doing it for 7 years.
Is it safe to say that with the recent change in college athletics, the NIL,
Yeah.
that's been a huge boon to your business, right? And I'll lead you here because you can, as a parent, but really as a kid, it was like, hey, I'm going to invest $100, $200, $300,000 over 5, 7, 10 years in my kid's pitching coach or pitching.
Yeah.
And he might make the majors one day. And if he does, he'll be financially well off. But now, I guess baseball, college wasn't as big, football, basketball, but now they're making money earlier, right?
Yeah. They're making money earlier. It's, there's the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. You can see it. I don't love everything that's happening in NIL. Let me just be very clear. I wish they would put some rules and regulations.
No,
I wish,
Well, Tennessee lost that quarterback.
Yeah. I would love, I could talk about that stuff all day long. But one of the things that has been a great benefit for athletes is think about your kids. Think about your daughter right now. If she continues on this path and goes club sports, all of a sudden now she's going to be able to get a full ride to college. So if you think about it, from an investment standpoint, say you spend $5,000 a year at D1, which is premium, right? Premium. You're getting training, $5,000 a year. So let's say you're $20,000 total in. Then you're going to get a full ride to, say, a Vanderbilt. That's $70,000 a year.
280 grand over 4 years.
Yeah, 20,000 to 280. I'd do that all day long.
It's a good ROI.
Yeah, and that's not just the money they're going to get. They're going to get an NIL money, which is part of this rev share deal. So you're going to get cash as well.
I was about to say, like,
it's not just the scholarship. And so
I was going to say, well, you would know more than I wouldn't have thought that like female soccer being a non-revenue sport would get NIL, but now with the revenue share that this was like a month ago, right?
Yep.
It just kicked in. Maybe
they're going to get some. They're going to get some. And it's
this really screws my parenting because I've been telling my kids you can't rely on sports. You better you'll be educated because you're not going to make any money.
Well, look, and we all know this, sports comes to an end.
Yeah.
Right? It did for you. It did for me. It does for every great player. Every player. Sports come to an end. But one of the things that sports does that is just probably the thing that I'm most proud of about our business is that we're not just teaching, hey, it's about money. To go back to why I started this is because what we're teaching is the character. Because all of us, and when you look at your kids, you go, man, I want my kid to be more disciplined. I want them to have respect. I want them to be accountable. Golly, if my kid could just be more accountable.
Oh, yeah.
I want my kid to be fearless. I want them to take chances and risks. And these are the things that we're teaching at D1. We have 12 words on the wall of every D1, and it's those words. And perseverance. And so for me, that's why we're here. We're here to teach those skills. Now, if the money works out, that is awesome. But when you build those life character traits in a kid and in yourself, all of a sudden, it's more than just training. it's life shaping. And so for us, that's where we feel like we're here.
Well, those character traits, there's oftentimes correlation between, discipline or fearlessness with in a professional setting, money and success and all that. But
Yeah.
we do talk about mindsets and mentalities, like not just your own, but you and or your business has trained so many athletes, 30,000 right now. Some of them have gone on to find success in college and now probably professional. What have you seen a common mindset or mentality, not just a fast 40 time or a strong bench press, but what has been from the mental side, common theme you've seen in people who've gone on to achieve great success within the sports industry?
Yeah, I will tell. I mean, we've been around some greats, right? We've trained, you know, Tim Tebow, Peyton Manning, Tua, all these. You look at like all these great athletes out there, Chris Paul, like all these people that have gone on and have done it for a really long time. One of the things that I think is permeates throughout every one of their personalities is they have a constant growth mindset. They have a constant growth mindset, and they don't let little setbacks. They don't let those little setbacks like crush them. They let it set up for the next thing. So this growth mindset is so important, and I'm trying to teach it to my kids, which is like, hey, you're never out of the fight. Right. If you do take a setback, what are you going to learn from it? And then how are you going to get better from it? And then if you constantly have that growth mindset, man, you just keep growing and growing throughout life. And you see these greats, and a lot of them are able to get it at an early age. Right. Like, and which is amazing, which is golly, God bless their parents and their life circumstances for the way they got to where they are. But like, they are just so intentional about every time they come in to just get a little bit better and a little bit better and a little bit better. And they're not trying to do it all in one workout, right? It is constant pressure to keep refining and getting better and better and better. But that growth mindset is just critical.
Yeah. Did you think that's something that, I mean, you kind of touched on it, but is that something that some kids just innately have? Or, cause like I coach now the 9th grade team, and every year a little more, but like getting back to 7th grade, if we had 80 kids on the team, there were 7 or 8 who just, even in 7th grade, like their coach, like, what else should I be doing? What should I be doing on the weekends? What film should I watch? And I don't think it was their parents telling them to ask me. They just were, they just were like that, And
Yeah.
is that something you either have or you don't, or can you kind of develop that discipline?
Absolutely. I mean, I think it's a, not have or don't have, it's a constant development, right? Like to me, I always found it most exhilarating. And I thought it was like the most challenging when I had a kid come in and he could only do like 1 push-up or 2 push-ups. And we had to train this athlete, for 8 weeks, and they didn't want to be there. And then there was always this tipping point. It was usually 8 to 12 workouts in. So they've been there for a little bit. They've had this delayed gratification. All of a sudden, that athlete comes in with a little bit more confidence. And all of a sudden, they went from 1 push-up to 8 push-ups or 10 push-ups. And you see it. They're walking around, chests out a little bit more, shoulders a little. They have a little confidence about them. And they enjoying coming to the workout because they're seeing the progress.
Sure.
And so that's why I love working out so much, is because you can actually see the progress. You can feel it and see it. And so, I think that's all things in our life. It's like if you can wait and see it getting a little bit better, that spurs you on. It gives you momentum to keep going. And I think when we start looking at our kids and our businesses and our lives, it's like, man, we all want that like magic pill. Like we all want like the magic thing to like get us exactly where we want to go. And the reality is the magic pill is being happy along the way. And so really trying to find joy in those moments, in those workouts, that is so like one of the things we love to do is just make it fun. Because we know if you can make it a little bit of fun, a little competitive, little banter, a little whatever, you're going to come back.
Yeah.
And so we want to constantly make it a little fun.
You find that when you personally set goals and you achieved them, did you find, I'm leading you here a little bit. Did you find that the achievement of that big lofty thing you had told you, like there's a couple days of satisfaction. You're like, oh, that's cool. And then, a week later, you're like, okay, well, what now? Looking back, you're like, actually, a lot of my happiness and joy was in the pursuit.
Yeah.
Like, y-
No, for sure. I mean, look, I was fortunate enough to learn it early on, win a state championship in wrestling. And afterwards, you're sitting there after something you've worked so hard for, and you're like, is this it?
mhm.
Winning a national championship and sitting there in the locker room afterwards. I didn't smoke cigars. And everybody smoking cigars going, is this it? And I think what I learned in my, teen years and 20 years is that the accomplishment's great because it's like, something you can put on your resume. It's something
Mhm.
that you look back and it reminds you that you're a winner and that you're a, good person or whatever that might be. That's the accomplishment. But what really, when you look back, you go, man, the journey was the best part about it.
Sure.
And usually the journey is not just like it is part of it is the suffering, but it's usually the fun times on that journey.
Oh yeah.
And it's usually like the laughter in the locker room. That's what
That's
every
what we
Hall of
all
Fame
miss.
player
Yeah.
says. Like, I miss the locker room. I miss,
Yeah.
and it's because those moments are like, man, that's what it's all about. And so you just don't want to be so caught up in your growth and so caught up in the end goal where that you miss some of that. Because the growth along the way, if you can look back and go, man, I was present when those moments happen. That's the best feeling.
Yeah, that was a good time. That's what you definitely miss the most about sports is the locker room. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously the big plays and the big wins are great, but that kind of starts to fade. And when you get with your old teammates, and I'm sure it's the same with you, you get around, and now it's so few and far between because just life takes you to a million. But when you're around each other, you don't sit there and be like, man, remember that game we won? Remember that play we made? No, you're just like, remember that time in the locker room when
Yeah.
Joey ate the chicken wings and they're you're like telling a
Yeah.
random story and you're just dying of laughter.
That's it.
Yeah, that's what it is.
And that's what we're trying to create at D1. So when you're there, you're in a community and you're working out, you're suffering. Right?
Suffering.
Working out is suffering. You're suffering a little bit, and that suffering bonds you with these other people that are in there, and you're going, man, I'm getting better together. And then, one of the things we pride ourselves in have coaches with personality. We want coaches to have a little personality because we want to make it fun.
Yeah.
We want to make it enjoyable when you walk in. You're like, oh man, there's Coach Q,
Yeah.
and
They're messing with you.
Yeah, and they're messing with you, and like poking your buttons a little bit.
Yeah.
And so that's what it's all about. And that's what I fell in love with at the University of Tennessee. I fell in love with being in there in that environment and being around those guys and rubbing elbows with some of the greats. But then the laughter and the jokes and the back and forth and the banter. And don't get me wrong, I loved winning championships and I loved winning big time games and playing in front of 100,000 people and all those things. But those were the moments.
Sure.
Those are the ones that I look back and go, man, that's why I work so hard, is so I could have some of those moments.
Mm-hmm. What you founded multiple businesses, right? The therapy business, a construction business, but obviously D1. Give me one, do this, and give me one, don't do that. Like, what is one, do this, don't do that? A piece of advice for serial entrepreneurs, someone thinking of starting a business, anyone in between, what, based on your experience, what advice would you have for the audience when it comes to being a founder?
Oh man. Don't, I would go, my first reaction would be, choose your partners carefully. Choose partners carefully. And I say that as a man, I've had some amazing partners that I would not be here if it weren't for them. And so I got that advice from my dad, and I had a couple business partnerships that didn't go well. And those were really hard and draining. It's like mentally draining. It's really hard for you to be creative. All the things you got into business to do, it sucks the life out of it.
That's when you really appreciate the good ones.
That's when you appreciate the good ones. And, for me, if you're an entrepreneur out there, I look at, I might look at it a little different than most people. To me, I would go after your passion. And what I mean by passion is something that's like going to light you up every day, something that you're going to want to give, you're going to want to like give and sacrifice your time for. You're going to give up family and quality time to go do this. Um, go do something you're super passionate about. And if you don't know what that is, go try a bunch of things and you'll figure it out. But like, I see so many people that they want to run after the dollar. So they're running after the, what's the hot thing today? And I will tell you, that has never been my mentality. My mentality is like what lights me up. Cause then like I'm happy and I'm good. And so it's really, really just basing it off your internal feelings versus the market.
You touched on something. You got a wife, 3 kids, and it sounds like a significant amount of the time you were building a business, and businesses plural, which had took tremendous amounts of time and energy. You were building a family.
Yeah.
How did you balance those? Did you? And what advice would you have looking back to someone who's like, hey, I'd love to build a business, but I want to have a family, or I'd like to have a family, but I'll hold off until after I build my business.
Got to bring my wife in, man.
Yeah.
I got to bring my, no. So my wife and I got married when we were 20 years old. We've been married 26 years. And she, thank you. She is, congrats to her, cause she's had to put up with my craziness.
Sure.
We've grown up together, ups and downs, trying to figure out who we are as a couple, who we are individually, who I am as a business person. She's seen me sit up all night stressed about making payroll.
Board of advisors.
Yeah. She's seen me in the hardest of hard times, and she's seen me celebrate on big wins. And I think doing it with someone like that just makes it so rewarding. And I would say anyone who's out there is like, man, I think you can do it all. That's just my belief. People say, man, you gotta be all in on one thing or the other. Mm-hmm. I just think you can have it all. You can have a great family life. You can have a great business life. You can do all of those things. It does come at being super intentional, and it comes with discipline, and it comes with sacrifice. And one of the best things my wife and we've always done is we sit down and we make agreements. And that to me, a great partnership is like, we know exactly, and if it's not clear what the agreement is, then we got to get clear. Great example of that is I used to be in staff meeting. My wife would call me, and I would answer the phone, and she'd be like, God, do you want milk? Do you want me to pick up milk? I'm like, I don't care if there's milk. Like, babe, I'm at a staff meeting. And then I was like, all right, here's our new agreement. Our new agreement is if you double dial me, I'll answer it wherever I'm at, because that means there's an emergency. But if you call me, I'll let it go voicemail. And I got to be cool with that. And you got to be cool with that. And so like, that's just a clear agreement. And so throughout the years, we've just constantly made these agreements so much. So when you've been together for 26 years, you have great agreements and you kind of know what they are. And then, but we still do it today.
I agree. I think I've said on the show is my experience has been, you can be great at work and you could be great at home. Those both are possible. You just may not be able to also have a great golf game and a great social life with your buddies. Like, that's where you might not have enough time in the day. But I haven't found really being a hard charger at work and then being a hard charger at home mutually exclusive.
Yeah, I think there's seasons, right? So I tend to, once again, I glean on everything in sport, from sports perspective. It's like, man, there's a time to lift heavy in the off season. There's a time to condition. There's a time for training camp, and there's a time in season, and like during training camp, I didn't talk to my wife, right? Like, I was gone, maybe get a text, maybe every other day talk. And so like sometimes there's season like that in business for me where I'm in my element. This is what I got to do. I think when you're the boss and you're the founder and CEO, you have to just be really clear on what season you're in. And so that's what I try to do with her. It's like, hey, this is the season we're in. This is the window. We're actually doing, we've done this the past 4 years. I do quarterly meetings with my wife, and so we like sit down. This is classic CEO stuff. It's like I sit down and we go through like all the different areas, and then we plan out the next quarter. And so it's really served me well because all of a sudden we're on the same page. And there might have been some things she wanted to do that we're putting to a different season because of the season we're going in.
But you got to make sure, like a board meeting, you got to have someone taking the notes. What are the minutes?
The minutes.
That way you'd be like, I never agreed to that.
We haven't had
Let's
anybody
check the minutes of the board meeting.
We haven't had anybody sit in. That would be interesting.
You could just get probably AI to do it. Just put the audio version on. All right, last question. Not just from an athlete perspective. Obviously, there's a physical component, but there's a mental side to the game, of what has been a common theme in the athletes you've coached that have gone on to do well. But from a more professional setting, maybe it's on the corporate side at D1, you've managed and led a lot of professionals now. What has been one kind of characteristic in your employees or business partners, or I mean, you've met a lot of people in business, obviously, through YPO, where you've seen that has really led them to great success and upward mobility and rising up the ranks? And then what is, again, conversely, what is one thing you see in workers, often young workers, where you're just like, you can't become that, or you can't do that?
Man, I would never say you can't become anything. But when I look at the common denominator amongst a lot of people that I've been blessed to be around, I think the common denominator is they're super intentional. Like you, I'll give you an example. You're intentional, you're doing this podcast and you're giving back. Like, this doesn't make you, I mean, you might have a halo effect to this, but you're giving back. And being intentional to me has been one of the core tenets of my life. I've tried to just be all in. And when I become intentional about something, I'm all in on it. And so like, if I'm doing YPO, I'm going to be all in or I'm going to be out, and I'm going to be intentional about it. If I'm going to franchise the business, I'm going to go all in on it and be super intentional about it. And so I think intentionality, when I look around, is the common denominator of like all the people I've see successful. They're super intentional about what they want to do. And so that takes thinking. And believe it or not, it's actually, we are in the meathead industry, right? The strength and conditioning industry. But for being in the meathead industry, we have to think a lot, because you have to forward think like, hey, this is what we're going to program. This is what we're going to plan to do workout wise. This is where we're to ultimately get you to this point in 8 weeks, 12 weeks, a year from now, or wherever. So you have to be super intentional. Yeah. And I've seen that as a common denominator. And I think just the antithesis of that, I look at is when somebody is just so scattered that they're just running, in a bunch of different directions. And to me, when you're scattered, the number one thing I would do, and this is what I would tell my daughter, this is what I tell my sons, is go get around a great coach. Because ultimately you become who you hang around. And if you hang around great people, you're going to become great. If you hang around people that are working out, you're going to become great. And, because they're intentional and it's going to rub off on you. And so, when we'll look at just my kids, and they're asking me about business advice and everything right now, because they're in their 20s and they're trying to figure things out. And I'm like, man, go get around really smart people. Don't just go take a job to take a job. Take a job that somebody's going to pour into you. Mm-hmm. We were talking about my cousin, William, who's very successful, sold multiple businesses, done very well. When he was young, he came and he's like, hey, I want to come work for you. And man, I taught him everything I knew. Now he went, maybe above and beyond me now. And so like he's out running. And so it's like, man, that's what you want to be around. You want to be around great people and learn from them. And I call them coaches because that's just the industry I'm in. It's like coaches, you want to be mentors. And so
all of it. Is there a resource you referenced earlier, a great book we've talked about before, Rich Dad, Poor Dad? Any other resources you direct the audience to? Could be a book series, anything that's
man, there's so many books. Man, I'm a big Tony Robbins fan. Like if anybody picks up any course from Tony Robbins, I'm a huge believer in that. I think One of the books, you know, that I really love is by a guy named Jason Jaggard. It's a high performance mindset.
That's the title?
That's the title, High Performance Mindset, by Jason Jaggard. It is really impactful. And so just really how to think. And I think for me, once again, I maybe learned this a little too. I wish I had learned it in my 20s, but just, man, it's like what you dwell upon, what you're intentional about, what you think about is ultimately what you become. And it's so true. You know, you want a great marriage, start thinking about a great marriage and what that looks like and try to create the great marriage. If you want great kids, that's what you got to think about, dwell upon, think about. Same thing with your business. And so, and then get around people that are doing it. And that's like that's the cheat code. The cheat code is if you get around people that are stronger than you, you get a lot stronger.
Yeah, we were talking about earlier. I always want to be the least successful, least motivated, least disciplined guy in the room because every time I leave the room, I'm like, man, I got to do more.
And that's hard. That's hard for a guy like you with having a lot of success. It's like, how do I get in that room? Because a lot of other people, and I do think I watched my dad with this. My dad he grew a really big business and he never settled. So he always hung around the greats, you know, and he hung around, Speed Dial, Bill Haslam, Big Jim Haslam, all the players in town. And I was like, man, he's done really well. He doesn't need to work that hard. It's like, no, like he had that growth mindset. And he was super intentional about having those people in his life to keep growing. Because I do think that's a human need. We all got to keep growing.
That's right. All right. Well, last question for you. How would you want people to describe your mindset, your mentality? If when your days are done, how would you want people to describe?
Oh man. I pray this over my kids, and so it's like a mirror reflection of what I want, but it's to be strong, bold, courageous, fearless, humble, kind, smart, and funny.
Funny?
And funny. Got to have a little humor. Yeah. Got to enjoy life, man.
You got to go down to Zanies.
But I pray that over my kids, man, and that's what I want. I just want to be,
You got to go down to Zanies and do open mic night.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not like the open mic guy, just like the last.
Did you say fearless?
Yeah, I could do that.
That's great. Well, Will, it's been awesome. I really appreciate you coming on. For everyone listening, be sure to follow Will in D1 Training to stay inspired and locked in. Is it D1training.com?
Yeah, D1training.com. Download the app.
Download the app.
Yeah, we got a ton of info in the app. We got some new stuff coming out in the app too.
There you go. And you can find D1 on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube at D1 Training.
Yeah, at D1 Training.
And follow Will directly on Instagram at Will Bartholomew. What are you putting on Instagram? You putting like videos you running, yelling, get hard?
Yeah, that's it, man. It's all just a bunch of lifting. That's it. No, man, it's a lot of my family and just D1 and inspiration and motivation.
That's good.
That's kind of my life.
We'll talk offline because I got so many questions. But if you found value in this episode, don't forget to follow me on X, Instagram, LinkedIn. Just search Kyle Matthews and catch more inspiring conversations on the Matthews Mentality Podcast, wherever you listen. Will, this has been fun, man.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
No, it's good to see you.
Awesome.